So while I was sitting on the couch the other day, drinking myself into an early death, my mind wandered to some of the most heartbreaking news and entertainment that I've heard so far this year. Like the passing of the legendary Ozzy Osbourne and Val Kilmer, GTA 6 being postponed for yet another year despite being revealed back in 2023, and that somehow, someway, HBO's The Last of Us has been renewed for a third damn season.
Really?
Just why? Are the cratering ratings and global fan backlash not enough for you, you dicks?
I'm gonna be a dad.
Right.
And well, I just so happened to be looking at my phone at the time, and there it was, an article posted in one of my gaming Discord groups about Zach Kreger's take on Resident Evil and his upcoming film. Imagine my shock. You know, we often talk about these kinds of things in my social circles that I totally made up in order to say the following, that when it comes down to live-action adaptations of popular video games, there's no other fan base on God's green earth that's been mocked more than Resident Evil fans. And the issue is simple. Hollywood hates us, and to prove that, we're going to go over the history of the franchise and what to expect in the future when it comes to the translation of the games to the big screen. Let's talk about it. Now, I don't know about you, so feel free to comment down below about your first experience, but I played my first Resident Evil game back in 2005, when I was 15 years old. Of course, I'm talking about Resident Evil 4, a game that was a turning point for the franchise as a whole, giving it more mainstream appeal by dialing down a bit on the horror but ramping it up in the adrenaline-pumping action. To the point, Capcom didn't know how to slow the fuck down and inevitably led us to this slab of beef full-on punching a boulder in RE5. But hey, at least Capcom knew it was ridiculous because I made fun of the whole thing in RE8. That boulder punching asshole! It didn't matter though. I was hooked. I wanted to see more of this universe, more of the characters, the storyline, so much so that I bought prior systems just to play the games that came before RE4. It was then that I realized, holy shit, there's already a few movies that have been adapted from the games. I should check those out as well because to be sure, they're just as good as the games are. And well...
Fuck.
Okay, look, the first one wasn't too terrible. Sure, it gave birth to the character of Alice, who has a grand total of zero to do with any of the games, but at least it got the look, feel, and style of Resident Evil down to some extent. Then there came the rest of them. And just... yeah. Not only did they stray from what made the game so popular in the first place, they weren't really based on them either. Sure, there were some characters that made appearances, like the lifeless wimpy husk that is Nemesis, and a pretty decent portrayal of Albert Wesker, and hell, it even gave us Oliveira, Chris Redfield, and fucking Barry Jill Sandwich Burton.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill Sandwich.
But the films didn't follow any of the storylines, tones, or settings from the games. At all. Gone were the claustrophobic hallways, the resource management, the feeling of isolation and not knowing what was going to be around the next corner, and in its place stood Fast and Furious style big action set pieces, jump cuts that kept most of the horrific monstrosities off screen, and a surplus of that shitty red-brown lens flare filter thing that director Paul W.S. Anderson seems to have an obsession with. Yep, that's the one. Sure, most of, if not all of them, were box office successes, bringing in almost $1.5 billion collectively, which is a lot of money for a horror franchise in the 2000s. And yeah, I guess they're all pretty decent, turn your brain off and look at the pretty colors popcorn flicks, but they weren't Resident Evil. It left the core fanbase wanting more, an actual true-to-form adaptation that didn't just use the namesake, but honored it as closely as it could. But, dear viewer, there was hope on the horizon. And it came in the form of Welcome to Raccoon City in 2021. Okay, now what the fuck were they thinking here? Yeah, I guess Welcome to Raccoon City more resembled the games aesthetically, but director Johannes Roberts must have been higher than Giraffe Pussy when he decided to try and cram the events of two whole-ass games into 107 minutes of runtime.
Are you retarded?
It didn't help that the film looked like it was made on a budget of $500, and it had CGI that must have been created on a 1990s Macintosh held together by duct tape and hooker spit. And for whatever reason, they turned Wesker into a bit of a pussy while having Leon portrayed by This guy. What the shit? Leon is one of the most beloved characters in the entire franchise. He's easily my own personal favorite. I've got a lot of memories and attachment to this guy. And you decided to race swap him from an Italian American to Indian? Cheap looks and horrible character miscastings, personalities, and motivations weren't the only issues here either.
Fuck.
The one-dimensional plot was filled to the brim with next to no character development. The tone would randomly shift from existential horror to goofy slapstick buddy comedy in a matter of seconds, and key encounters swapped locations for seemingly no reason. Simply put, even though it was a better attempt at adapting the games and the producers did have a lot of love and care for the source material, it was still a far cry from what we, the fans, wanted. And this shit's it's real simple. What we want, you just take one of the games, take the characters, the tone, the narrative flow, and you just put the shit up on the screen with a budget fitting to adapt the most successful horror gaming franchise of all time.
He's out of line, but he's right.
Well, Netflix heard all of our concerns, thoughts, and hopes. So in July of 2022, there it was, a brand new Resident Evil TV series, and I couldn't click play now fast enough. I just don't even know where to start here with this colossal mess of a show. It wasn't Resident Evil at all. It was just some modern day political blue-haired feminist wet dream with the Resident Evil logo slapped on it. There was no Jill, no Leon, no Claire, no Chris. Instead, we got twin sisters, Jade and Billy, because, yeah, okay, I guess this is how twins work.
You serious?
Now, if you want a clear indicator as to how this is yet another popular property that's been hijacked by a bunch of political activists, I mean, Hollywood writers, take a good look at Wesker from the games. Got it? Okay, good. Now here's Wesker from the Netflix show.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
Granted, Lance Reddick as Albert Wesker was easily the best part of the show, and the guy most certainly didn't deserve the hate thrown his way. He's just an actor doing the job he was hired to do, but he was horribly miscast here. It got so horrible at one point in the show that when Wesker does show up, donning the iconic Matrix-style duster that we know from the games, Netflix made him look like fucking Blade. I just can't, man. There's no way this sounded good. Even in your heads, Netflix. Anyway, the show went back and forth between two timelines, focusing on this awkward teenage angsty drama shit in the past, and then a corporate espionage plotline that was backed by a war against zombies that looked so terrible they wouldn't have even passed for a sci-fi original film from the 1990s. And well, if you think race swapping one of the whitest, blondest, most Aryan-looking evil characters in gaming history with a bald black guy didn't piss you off enough, Netflix doubled and tripled down on the social and political posturing, for no clear reason other than because they wanted to. What if Umbrella's CEO was a woman and a lesbian, and the show took every chance it could to make sure we knew it? What if Billy was vegan? Because, of course, why not? And wants to be a part of PETA so badly, she's the one who lets the zombie dog out and start all the events of the show in the first place. What if the men, who've always been strong, masculine, and even overpowered at times in the games, remember the whole boulder punching thing? Are all now wimpy, submissive beta males that do exactly whatever their female counterparts tell them to do without question?
I'm gonna kill myself!
Just go to hell, Netflix. Case in point, this shit wasn't an adaptation at all. It was just a cheap, contrived garbage pile of a narrative masquerading in a Resident Evil costume without having a fucking clue of what made the franchise so loved by so many in the first place. And well, things just, they're not looking up.
Can't do it. I can't take this shit no more, man.
Now, I'm a big fan of Zach Kreger, right? I thought Barbarian from a few years ago was pretty solid, and this year's Weapons has been nothing short of a unique, original box office success. But after all the years, burn after burn, disappointment after disappointment, I'm not overly eager to see yet another take on what a writer thinks Resident Evil should be. What makes this shit even worse is the mainstream media headlines like, not a faithful adaptation, won't retell any game, and tells a different story. I guess the only thing we can do at this point is just wait and see. I'm skeptical, but I'll keep an open mind and just hope we get something that at least honors my favorite video game franchise of all time. But at this point, I think it's pretty clear based on the past, that Hollywood hates us Resident Evil fans. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to throw a like up there to help me with the algorithm, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Seriously, I create content like this to get discussion going, and one of my highlights of each day is talking with everyone. Also, if you're new around here, consider subscribing for more unfiltered, uncensored criticism of modern day entertainment. I appreciate y'all for checking out my video. I'll talk to y'all later.